Alrighty, so today we're going to be working on your Kawasaki Vulcan 900. Today we're going to be working on your clutch. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so right down here, this is going to be your clutch. This is where we're going to find it. Now, to get started, we're going to have to take off a lot of parts to get this started. So, let's jump right into it. Alright, so you're going to come over here to your headers right here and right here. I already got it a little started. You're going to take the exhaust off. So there's a bolt here. There's a bolt over there, one here, and then for the mount, you're gonna find one right here and down in there. These were all 12 millimeters. Come off super simple, and let's get that taken off. You know I have to do it. All right, now that I got that taken off, I just threw that to the side over here. All I use for that is a small 12 millimeter socket, a swivel head, extender, and the wrench, and a small 12 millimeter socket as well. Now, what we gotta do is we gotta come down here and we gotta take this off and we gotta get to the oil filter right here. And now we have to drain the oil so we can open this bad boy up. All right, so for over here, we got ourselves a 10 millimeter to get this off. And then you have two more bolts here and here you're gonna wanna do, which are also your 10 millimeters. And two more bolts right here to get this mounting bracket off. All right, so once all those are gone, you're gonna come down here to your draining bolt. Now, I do not have the support to put the bike up, but I got this tiny bowl that will fit under it to catch all my oil. I have tried it already, it fits. So now this drain plug is an 11/16. I'm going in with a small socket. All I need to do is just loosen it up a little bit. There we go, breaker loose. All right, once that's done, make sure you're tipping your bike, if you don't have a stand underneath, to make sure it's standing up perfectly straight so all that oil does come out, and put that bolt back in. Now we're gonna come over here to the filter. We're gonna take that off. All right, so now for this, you're gonna have your old filter and your new filter. You're just gonna make sure these are the correct same ones. So mine is S6017A. As you can see right there, that also says S6017A. So I do have the correct same filter. I'm gonna pull this out of the new box. Right, and what I like to do is I like just put the old ones right back in the box of the new one. So then I can keep that safely away so I can dispose of it properly in the future. Once you have that, you're gonna take this guy off. There you go. And before installing it, don't install it dry. Take a little bit of oil and rub it around the O-rings just so you can get it off next time you do it. And tighten it back in just like you had it before. I personally like to just hand tighten it to where you feel like you can get it off again next time. Well, after doing my oil, as you can see, there is clearly a ton of junk in there. Must be from the clutch, I suppose, but it's definitely not there my last oil change, so something went gone. That's why we gotta fix it. That's gonna wrap it for today. It's getting late. I'm gonna have to work on it more tomorrow, maybe the day after. It's gonna be a pretty long project. But that's gonna be it for today. Stay tuned for tomorrow. See you. Alright, so we're back. Now, let's get straight back to what we were doing. Alright, so we got one 8mm bolt here for the reservoir. We have two 12mm bolts here for the foot pedal, and one back here that you can't see, but one right back here adjacent to this bolt. Now, let's take them off. All right, now that that's off, we have to get the wiring off for the brake light. So you gotta undo the spring here. And then once that's off, you just have to twist this harness off. Okay, so in order to get this off of the brake light line, I had to get a 17mm wrench for this nut. I had to keep twisting this out all the way, and you'd watch the wires get crossed. Don't let them get crossed too much and rip them out, but do that until you see the wires are crossed decently well. And then you gotta take that 17mm and take and undo the thread of the wire, and then redo, and just keep repeating that. Loosen the wire, unbolt it, loosen the wire, unbolt it. Slow process, and make sure you keep your spring so you don't lose that. All right, now we need to remove this bar from the motorcycle underneath these caps. There we go. We have an 8mm Allen wrench socket head that's going to take the bar off, along with a few more 14mm. We got a bolt down here, and we have two bolts right here. And we also have an 8mm bolt holding this radiator on. Now we got to get these off. Break time. Nice little sip. Delicious. Back to work. All right, now that that's done, I forgot to do the clamps on the wiring. All that is it takes a flathead. Just make sure you don't break them. And then that gives you more space to put that brake and pedal out of the way. Now, we have to do the coolant, so you're gonna come right here. We have to take this hose off with this small, tiny Phillips head. You can see, there you go. Very tiny. We have to take this clamp off, and that's gonna mix with all the coolant and the oil. So just make sure we have our handy dandy bucket. So make sure that goes underneath so you don't spill anything. And then once we're done with that, we're gonna come over here. There's a little leak valve you can unbolt, and that'll drain all this out as well. So let's get that done. Next is the drain plug. I use a 10mm socket right here just to loosen it up a little bit. Now we're gonna collect the rest of it. The reservoir, try and fit the bucket underneath. I have a little big of a bucket, but and don't lose your bolt like I just did. That's gonna suck. Oh well, I'll get it later. I'll let that drain out. All right, next we're gonna be taking off the housing unit for it with a 5mm Allen wrench. Let's get straight to it. All right, I got the clutch housing cover off. It took a lot to get off. I used a ton of brute strength and a flat head. Just make sure you also be careful when taking that hose out. That hose came off from the top and into that hole up underneath the air vent. Now we got to take off this right here, which are 10mm, and we'll get right into that. All right, before taking this off, you're gonna make sure, you're gonna look and see, you're gonna see that the first disc is offset compared to all the others. All the others are inside of these grooves, while the last one is outside by itself, offset. Just remember, make sure you remember that pattern when you go and take this off. We're already grabbing it. There we go. All right, pull that off, set that to the side. And then we're gonna pull the first disc that is offset. Make sure to remember that. We do have a little wear and tear here. Don't look too bad, but there's a little wear and tear. We're gonna throw that to the side. And the next one. They're all gonna come out, it looks like. Fine by me. It's a lot easier. There we go. All right, that's all of them. I'm just gonna quickly inspect them, and you can have your spacers in between like always. Make sure you keep them separated. They don't look bad. Now to the back and to reinstalling it. All right, now that those are taken out, we're gonna get our new gears that have been soaking overnight. Looking good. Get a little off oil so it don't drip. Remember, these are gonna go in the raised parts. So, like that. Push that in. Then we're gonna grab a spacer. We're gonna put that in. Oh, don't do that. There we go. Push that in. And we're gonna repeat that. All right, once you put that last plate in, make sure you offset it compared to all the other ones. All the other ones are lined up right here within that groove on the outer part, and the last one goes in between all of them on the opposite side. Now I have to replace the gasket since I did mess it up while opening this up, and let's get to that. All right, now that new gasket is in there, we're gonna go ahead and put this back in there. Ready? Boom. And now that that's back on, now we're gonna throw the cover back on. Here we go. Boom, again. I reinstalled a few more things this time. I had the foot pedal, the cover, the brake line, all that good stuff. Make sure you reinstall the spring that was on this line back when you get it in. I still need to reinstall the exhaust. I'm gonna do that very last though. Next, let's move on to the oil and the coolant. All right, so once all that's done, you're gonna come over here to the left side of your driver's side motorcycle. You're gonna come off and take your cap off for the oil cap. Get yourself a little funnel and start pouring her in. Now, I believe this takes about 3.5 quarts. I already put it in a bigger container just so I know how much is in here, but it should be about 3.5 quarts. All right, once that's all done, you're gonna come over here and put your cap back in. All right, so you're gonna come down here to the left side of your motorcycle. You're gonna use your engine key. You're gonna find a little key slot right here on this body panel. You're gonna push that in, give it a little twist. That's gonna pop this seat right on off for you. And we're gonna throw that out of the way. And then next, you're gonna come up here. You're gonna find yourself a little Phillips head screwdriver bit. That's gonna take off this body panel, which is also gonna lead next to this body panel. Let's get straight to it. Now, once you take that body panel off, you're gonna come down here. You're also gonna find a 3mm Allen wrench right there, and that'll take this whole cover off. All right, and now here is our coolant reservoir, and what we're gonna have to do is unscrew it and pour it out into a different bucket, and that's gonna be the start of our process. All right, once you're done putting that drain plug bolt back in, you gotta start removing the gas tank. I would recommend not taking it off all the way, but all is pretty simple. You got two 12mm right here. Don't take it off all the way. I would leave them slightly screwed on, just enough to start lifting it. So you're gonna lift up your gas tank. Right here is your reservoir. Just go ahead and take that cap off for your radiator. There you go. Now add your coolant. Again, make sure your drain bolt is plugged back in. Okay, after making a massive mess, you can now put your radiator cap back on. Lift that up. Right there. You'll feel it go flush with the piping. Nice and tight, there you go. And then from there, you can just go and tighten the gas tank back up. All right, before we do the gas tank, just make sure you come over to your reservoir and make sure you check and make sure it is full. You don't want this empty. That's going to be very bad. Just make sure it is full with your coolant. And now we can go ahead and start on the gas tank bolts. Now we're going to reinstall the body panels and the seat. Here we go. Perfect, look at that. Now let's go put on the exhaust system. And of course, before we put on the exhaust system, again, you know I have to do it. First it's there, now it's here. And that, ladies and gents, is how you replace your clutch on your Kawasaki Vulcan 900. Have a great day.